Hi guys, it's Dale, and I'm back. I kind of left Vanguard at some point around Legion coming in and set 15 being over and done with. But I'm going back in now that, as you can see, Shadow Paladins are getting support again. And we all know that I love my Shadow Paladins. Now, as we know, GBTO3 drops 10th of July, which will start seeing Claret Sword, Aura Geyser, and the rest of the Generation Stride support come in. But until then, I've picked up the Legend Deck, which is actually quite nice for what is pretty much a trial deck. It has some cards that you're going to want to keep in for the main Stride build. But for now, I'm just going to go through the Legend Deck. I've made a little bit of a change to it, but I'll get to that when I get to that. For those who know, well, you probably already know, but the Legend Deck has one card in Holo, well, one of every card in Holo, sorry. Comes with the power counter and the Ren deck box. But until then, let's just go through this. Obviously, the starter for the deck is Full Bell Brave. Ooh. Again, it's more Blaster Dark support, which is generally the main theme of the deck. Full Bow, again, supporting Blaster Dark as it did with the original Ride Chain. And is a Generation Break 1, Cannon Blast 1, put it into Soul, and search for a grade... just one card with Blaster in its card name. So this would work with the older builds, such as PBO, and of course Phantom Blaster Dragon is also getting a Break Ride version. Onto the triggers. We obviously have four new name crit and a new Revenger. I actually really do like the art on the new Revenger crit. I think it's nice that we finally actually get one in Holo, and it means the deck can now play 12 Revenger crits. We have full heal. It's some really weird dog looking thing. Does the job of being a heal. And we have what is probably the most exciting trigger to come with the Legend deck, and that is Howl Owl. Now, for all those old Royal Paladin players, you used to have your Margle. Now every deck is basically getting one. The fact that this card goes into Soul for plus 3k is incredibly nice, especially coming from a draw trigger. It's not very often that we see triggers with effects like these, or skills should I say, but it's really nice to start getting these kind of things. But yeah, that covers it for the grade 0s. When set 3 comes out, I'll be doing another video for the Stride build. Onto the grade 1s. The main, she comes back as a perfect guard, or a sentinel, as that is kind of the correct term. Again, she follows her old roots of the fact that if there, she can draw and ditch cards, but you need another copy of her in the drop zone, similar to the on-flipper perfect guards. I might be playing her come the Stride build, but we'll see which one I prefer at the time. 3 Dark Heart Trumpeter. I think this is actually very good in the trial deck, or Legend deck should I say, purely for the fact that the deck comes with a copy of Grim Recruiter. And Grim Recruiter and this card pretty much makes you go +2. It gets units out of the deck, such as Claudus, who I'm going to come on to in a minute, and of course the new Charon. And of course it's a GB1 7K, so it's got a lot more power behind it than like Dark Bond and other cards which have been similar to it before in the past. However, it does require a grade 3 or greater vanguard with blaster in the card name. Again, literally everything in this deck supports the blaster theme, which was Ren's big thing back in the first series of Vanguard. So we'll move on to Claudus. Now, we all know Claudus from Set 12 Revengers, used to call Blast Dark Revenge from deck. He still supports Blaster, except now he's a GB1, and if you have a Vanguard with Blaster, he gains 2k, making him a 9k booster, which is incredibly nice. And of course, if it boosts a Dorrant will gain another 2k, which realistically makes it an 11k booster. And we'll move on to Dorrant in a moment. And then last but not least, we have the new Charon. We all know this guy as the old 8k vanilla, but now he does more things. He has a very similar skill to the Stride Enablers, which fetch their Heartbreak unit by revealing a grade 3 and discarding. Charon searches for Blaster Dark, specifically a grade 3 with Blaster Dark in the name, which at the moment there is only one unit with that name. Now, Charon's other skill is very useful, and we'll see more of it in set 3 through a grade 0. Charon, when you're retiring rear guards for a unit's skills, if you have Vanguard with Blaster in the name, it can be regarded as 2 units for retiring. Now, we all know that Shadow Paladins have a huge retire 3 cost. This pretty much nearly fulfills it all in one, which reasonably makes the cost a lot cheaper. You can use the retire skills through less cost. You don't have to call as much as you used to. It's also a 7k booster, which makes it incredibly nice. Now, as you saw, there were 2 unsleeved Charon in there, because obviously I'm not going to play this fully as the Legend deck until we get set 3, but I am playing 2 Blackwing Swordbreaker. I feel this is more or less a staple in any Shadow Paladin build, even in a Revenger build. I played this in Raging form for a little bit when I went and revisited the deck fairly recently. Not being a Revenger doesn't particularly hurt the deck, but the fact that it can be called off of things like Judge Bow Revenger, and in this deck you have Dark Heart as well, which means when I come around to the strides, I'll explain a little bit more about why I play this card. Plus, with things like Claret Sword, you can call this out from deck as well. And another card that of course can call this out of deck is the lovely Maka. Now, we all remember Maka as the old Counterblast 2 8k call from deck, which would call a unit out behind it. We then saw this as a sort of clone with Tartu for Revengers, and then eventually Wily Revenger Mana. Now, Maka has now become a GB1, sorry, and is now 9k. However, when her skill to call only happens if she is boosted. So, while having less of a cost is nice and being able to call anywhere is nice, she does still have a bit of a fallback. But again, this can call out Blackwing Swordbreaker as well. As I mentioned earlier with Claudus, we have Doran. Now, Doran can pretty much... Sorry about that. Is a damage unflipper, similar to what it was as a Revenger. And again, supports the Blaster theme. If it's boosted by Claudus, you unflip the damage, and it also gains 2k when you're GB1 and have a Blaster as the Vanguard. So, again, it's another little combo similar to the old Doran Blaster Dark thing. And then last but not least for the grade 2, there's Tumac Lear. We all know this guy as the lovely Perfect Guard. He has now become a grade 2 as special intercept, although he requires 1 or less back row rear guards to gain a 10k shield. So he becomes 15k, which is incredibly nice. Right, and finally, onto the grade 3s. I'll cover the main grade 3 first, which is Blaster Dark Diablo. Now, as a trial deck grade 3, this is actually pretty nice. I think one of the only other ones, well, Thavas and Chronojet, I think, are pretty much better than this card, purely for the fact that they're very unrestricted, but both of them are proper heartbreaks, whereas this is literally Blaster support. The GB2 skill, if you're striding into a Blaster, which there is only one Blaster stride at the moment, everything in hand gains +3 in terms of grades, so you can stride using triggers, which should mean you're getting to stride every turn, because you can drop any of your triggers, any grade 1s, without needing stride enabler, which is very nice. And of course the Heartbreak skill is when Dark Dragon Phantom Blast Diablo strides over it, you choose the rear guard, opponent's rear guard, and retire it. It's a bit of a shame that Claret's Sword didn't do this, similar to how Chronojet can rewind, and Thavas can retire as well, if it's the 4th attack or more. And then the final grade 3 for this deck is Dark Great Mage. Now, for a supporting grade 3, he's actually pretty good. GB1, if it hits, Counterblast 1, and call a grade 1 or less card from the deck. Again, there's a high focus on grade 1 units, so I can call Blackwing, Charon, Darkheart, even Claudus if I have a Doran on board, which could make this a free call by the end of it. Also provides great pressure for your opponent to guard it, and the skill is only a GB1. And the skill works on both the Vanguard and the Rearguard circle, making it an actual good grade 3 to call to Rearguard, which is something we haven't actually seen since the times of Diamantes, which was generally one of the best non-Vanguard grade 3s in Aquaforce at the time, and still is, to be honest. Onto the strides. Obviously, this is quite literally just the Legend deck, and I only bought 1 copy, so I only have 1 of each card in Holo. So I only have the 1 Grim Recruiter. I'll be playing more come set 3, but at the moment I only have the 1. Again, standard stride procedure, ditch grade 3 or grade 2 cards from hand to stride it. When the attack hits a Vanguard, I get to call any grade 1 from deck, which means I can call Darkheart and then call Swordbreaker, Soul Blasting 2 in the process to basically get 2 units and a free card in hand. And the artwork's pretty nice as well, actually. And then finally onto the main stride of the deck, which is Phantom Blaster Dragon Diablo, who is pretty much the old Overlord, and the skill is pretty similar to the old Overlord as well, except the cost isn't as bad, and it's not as bad if, well, you have the likelihood of your opponent not being able to guard with this as well. The standard cost of Counterblast 1 and Persona on flip, I'm not quite too sure what the term is for here, but, you know, you flip a copy of itself from face down to face up from the G-Zone, and if the number of cards in your G-Zone is 2 or more, so similar to like some other units we've got, such as Lambros, Diablo gains 10k, a crit, and choose 3 of your rear guards and retire them. When it attacks a vanguard, you can pay the cost of retire 3. My opponent then has to choose 2 of their rear guards and retire them. If they can't call cards from hand to Guardian Circle. However, they can still intercept, but when this should be roughly 36 double crit, I don't think an intercept's going to do much. Diablo would generally be used as a game ender, seeing as striding this from Blast to Dark Diablo would automatically retire a unit on the opponent's board anyway, giving them 1 less card that they could send to be able to guard themselves. But yeah, that's the Legend deck pretty much gone through. For what it is, it's actually incredibly strong. The card advantage you can gain is incredibly good. And as I mentioned, the new Howlow, an amazing card. Maka, an amazing card. In the main, probably 50-50 on her, but I do like the whole draw and ditch concept. So we'll see how she plays out. Until set 3, this is me signing out. See ya.